Been a while.
It has. We've not gone regular yet.
No.
Watch now. Okay, I'm going to come on to us. Um, no, I've moved house. I didn't actually move house. Moving house is, I mean, it really sounds like you've done something impressive, doesn't it? Just picked up a house and moved it across London. Is it, if
It
I said I
does.
moved a person, you wouldn't think I've moved their insides and left their outsides there, would you?
No, that's true. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
I thought for a
people.
moment you were going to go, yes, I would think that.
It's funny when people say you've got a nice house. It normally
Yeah,
means the inside of the house rather than the outside, though.
it could mean either. You could, I
Well,
mean, you're
it'd be
perfectly right to say
weird.
to them, what are you talking about?
It'd be weird if you complimented someone on their house when the inside of it was just all the walls are smeared with excrement and it's sort of got
If you
stray
say to someone
cats
you're
living in.
beautiful, they go, do you mean my guts? Do you
That's
mean the
true.
inside of my stomach?
I
Yeah.
mean, I think what we're
And that's
establishing here
just
is that things
the
are
English
different.
language is,
Yeah, yeah.
yes, yes. The same as sexually, you can say I'm in a woman, and that means completely different to I'm in a car.
I mean, it
If no one
can
would say,
mean
if you
the
say I'm
same
in a
thing.
car, you don't think somebody's just sticking their penis in through a window. But
No,
maybe this is all a bit too much for a chess broadcast right off the top.
yeah, a little bit heavy off the top, and
I'm not
also,
dressed for this one.
I like it. Also, it sort of suggests that "I'm in a woman" is some normal English phrase that you. I'm sorry, I can't speak now. I'm just in a woman.
You've never said that before.
No,
Cancelling a dentist appointment or something.
I can't- what?
um,
I'm sorry to cancel the dentist appointment. I'm in a woman.
oh, okay. So I didn't know
Really
you
well
were this
chosen
weird.
example there.
I didn't. I didn't know you were this stuck up. That you were so straight. Jesus Christ! I mean, we all say
Yeah, but it's really hard to get dentist appointments at the moment.
it. Anything that sound interesting.
That was
So anyway, I'm now in Brixton, which is
well done.
it's lively,
I
man,
like
really
Brixton.
lively. I mean, there is a lot of people around, and I suppose I've been living in Crouch End where there isn't an underground station, and so as a result, it's really I didn't even think it was that quiet until I moved down here. I mean, wow, you walk around and just there's people everywhere,
Yeah, it's definitely
loads of them.
populated.
Yeah, it's really popular with people, and but there's loads of really good eating places and market outside cafes and everything. So nice park,
Yeah,
no
yeah.
woods. I'm kind of missing having a woods next to me, but there's something gained and something lost every time you move. That's Carey's
There
wisdom for
is.
today.
Every time you move, brackets move house, brackets yourself.
Yes, yes. So yeah, we're settled in now, and I think we've got better internet than I had before. We've updated it, so it's reasonably good, and hopefully I won't be cutting out all the time. We'll only find out after this broadcast whether my sound's good this time because that's been a problem up to now.
I
But
think you sounds good.
we're
I think
getting there, aren't we?
it sounds all
We're
right to me.
improving. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all that matters, Nick. Sod everyone else.
Well, it sort of is because
So
I'm the one broadcasting.
oh, Kyrus has joined us straight away. That's really lovely. Autoerotica from the get-go. Yeah, I know. Anything we can. We will be doing this naked at some point, Kyrus.
Yeah, although can I just clarify? That was just erotica. That wasn't auto. There's nothing auto about that erotica. That car.
It was pretty automatic. I mean, I didn't have to make any effort.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, I suppose sex with a car is autoerotica.
Erotic cars. Love an erotic car. Yeah, and we are going to every time we do this, I think it's going to become a running theme. We talk about how we're planning to have guests, and we're planning to do this regularly, like on a Monday and Thursday or something every week. But everything's been up in the air. We started it as an experiment. Excuses, but they're all true. Yeah. What else is going on, Nick? Are you going to Edinburgh this year or not going to Edinburgh? Is anyone going to Edinburgh Festival this year? Is that happening? People are paying for it.
Yeah, I think the festival is moving towards a pay for it, but then nothing happens model.
Yeah.
Which is
It was always a bit
controversial,
like
but
that
it's always been a
anyway.
bit like that. Yeah.
Yeah. You always pay to feel like you've done something. And what happens is I think this year it's going to be people paying a lot of money to do a Zoom show to perform in their lounge.
Yes,
it's going to be quite interesting.
Yeah,
we don't know.
very
Might be a
interesting
few little events.
Very interesting to see if that is what happens. What the justification is of the festival to go. Yeah, but in this particular case, your Zoom show costs a lot for us to put on.
Yeah,
I did a radio
show.
Did you? I did a radio show last week with a live audience of about 3,000 people. Which was unbelievable and brilliant fun. But at some point, what they do is there's the BBC run it. It's a Radio 4 show that I did last week with Rich Hall. First 100 days of Joe Biden. It was about, and we had an audience of about 3,000. Of whom any number were allowed to leave on their microphones, and then it's somebody's job to sort of monitor all the microphones and let about 300, like filter about 300 people through into the feed. So what you end up with in the end is an amalgamation of all these people who are all individually at home, but together sound like an audience. But what was really funny is
how many make up a front row?
300.
No, I mean how many? You know, but how many have their mics on that you can hear?
About 300.
Oh, really? Oh, I see. Okay.
But
that's been difficult to do in the past because you end up with so much interference.
Normally, you have like it is difficult to do, and they have this like 10-minute long, quite well done, funny edited together speech. The guy explaining to them, and here's how you mute yourself if you're going to do anything except watch and laugh. And then it's and then a little bit about
clever.
Yeah. And they don't always. And what's funny is sometimes you can just hear individual people, well, I liked it.
Right.
Just it's really clearly just go, I actually thought that's quite a good joke.
That's what you want. Something less than a heckle, but it's still counting. I thought it was funny.
Yeah. That was quite funny. And then every now and again, somebody's dog just gets set off by something it's heard.
Cool. All right. Yeah. So that must have been fun to do then. That's quite a big show.
It was brilliant. Yeah, it was like the feeling of a live audience, which I've had before. Even when you can only hear like 10 people, that's still way better than not hearing anyone.
How do you feel overall about Zoom shows rather than actual live?
I'm sure it doesn't compare. Obviously, I've had to get used to them, but I haven't started doing live shows yet. Have you done any?
Yeah, I've done a few gigs, but only small crowds. Or last year when it opened up for a little while, and it was the difference was stark because I'd kind of learned how to play a Zoom gig,
right,
and was getting into the idea and almost forgetting the difference of doing a live show and then walked out in front of an audience and instantly it's like, oh wow, this is just a lovely reaction, and it's very full and you can look around and see. It's not just seeing close-up faces. People's whole body language tells you a lot.
Yeah.
So I kind of missed all that. But, I like the Zoom thing to an extent. And it's hard to turn them away. It's really hard to say to someone that amount of money isn't worth getting out my bed and walking across the room for. So you tend to just say yes to everything. But yeah, I don't think you can ever really replace the feeling of actually live, being able to slap someone.
No, it's being able to slap someone.
You don't slap people?
No.
Yeah.
No, not. I think that's going to still be immediately
post-pandemic. It doesn't really work with your persona, does it? It doesn't really work for you. You're not the kind of actor who would just slap someone in the audience for no reason.
Especially not as a socially distanced gig, no.
Some of us can get away with that sort of thing.
Well, Kirsty, my wife...
Hello, Zudu. Zudu's joined us.
Oh, hey, Zudu, yeah.
Hope you're doing well. Yeah, so God knows what's happening with this. I've got a few gigs coming in, and I'm looking forward to doing them. But there's only a few. And what's happening at the moment? Anyone who, if you're wondering what's going on in the comedy business that's been shut down for a year, is that it's a bit of a meat market at the moment. It's sort of more of a raffle, isn't it? It's kind of like a gig goes on Facebook, and then you get several thousand comedians going, "We're all free."
Yeah. It makes you realise just how big that competition was before. When obviously a gig would go on, and there would be like 140 people could do it. But now a gig goes on, and there's literally every working comic in the country of every level who can do it.
I've I've had the injections. I've got a car. I've got my own microphone, so I won't spread germs.
Yeah.
And you can advertise anything at the moment. You've got a gig going. It's beyond Plymouth. You need to be able to swim because there's no transport. There's no hotel, so you'll have to stay over on the street for the night. And you need to have the vehicle and an aeroplane and everything else. And there's people going, "I'll do it," and you go, "Oh fuck, I don't have a chance anymore. This is not what I signed up to."
I'll do it, but for less money than you're offering.
Are you funny? Yeah. Yeah, bring down the price. Happy to do it.
Yeah, my wife's been booked for a wedding because she's a professional bride, and she does music. She does music, but she does so many. Oh, it's so annoying how many husbands she has. I used to think I was special until I found out what she did, and then But she does like karaoke, live karaoke, and it's awesome, and the atmosphere is brilliant, and everyone sings along, and people are really supportive. But she's realising now that for every new person who gets up to the mic, they're going to have to sanitise the mic or swap it with another microphone while the first mic is sanitised. And that's, you never think, during a pandemic, you don't think, oh, this is really going to hit karaoke hard.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing that it's hit everything really hard. We're going to say hello to the Sicilian. That's a good name. The Sicilian has joined us. Hi, can you see the chat, Nick?
The Sicilian. I'm sure there is a way for me to see the chat. Let me have a look and see if I can.
You're going to see the chat.
It would be good if I could.
I don't want to be the only one chatting. Hi, I've been meaning to check this channel out for a while. Kai Humphreys recommended you. That's nice of Kai, because he is a gentleman and a very good person.
He should know better.
To the Sicilian, or do I call you the for short? We've really only done a few broadcasts, and it's going to be chess heavy any moment. We're going to get into some.
Yeah, we are actually going to do chess.
Sicilian. If you're called the Sicilian, I'd reckon you're probably into chess.
I think that is a. Can you ask while I try to see this? Is the Sicilian? Is that a reference to the way Daniel Naroditsky says Sicilian?
You will have heard the question.
Daniel Naroditsky.
She will have heard the question. Are you he or she Sicilian? The Sicilian, Mr. Sicilian, or is it Mr. Underline? Hello, Stuart Robin. Bring your own mic, shield knights. Yeah, and bring your own shield. Bring your own knight. These are new type of bringer gigs happening. What are we going to do today, Nick? We're going to look through another Paul Morphy game. What we've done is we've spent the first few of these broadcasts looking through Paul Morphy games, and then I think we're going to work gradually through some other past masters.
Oh, Sicilian says, no, it's not that deep. Which the good news is I can now see the chat.
Yeah. Oh, cool. See, we are getting so advanced. You wait till this has been going for a few weeks. There's going to be graphics, dancing girls, live elephants in your lounge.
I like the order of those things. Graphics, dancing girls, live elephants in your lounge. This is as Kerry gets better at graphics, the things he can fake. Get more.
Yeah, when I get really good at graphics, I'll be doing live elephants. That'd be pointless. I would have gone, what was all this time working on live graphics when I have live elephants anyway? So anyway, it's all to come. It's all going to be really exciting, but it's going to be chess heavy, and we're going to have. I'm reiterating this just for anyone joining us that we are planning to have comedian guests, and it's really hard because we tried it to even chat, let alone be funny whilst playing a game of chess.
Yeah, and also chess guests, or chests.
What are chess guests?
Chests, as they're known. Chests.
Yeah, we have plenty of chests. So Sicilian saying, "Ugh, sort of getting back into this. Go back into it with a star." Oh, I don't know what that star means. It could be referring to anything. Am I supposed to look at the back of the screen, bottom of the screen, and find out where there's a little star somewhere going? Don't mean it.
Oh, I see.
Getting back into it. Well, it's a fun way to get into this because it's quite nice going through. We're going to go in depth with the game because for those who joined us, I'll tell you where we're at. Is that Nick's been at a much higher level than me of chess forever. And I've only recently started learning a few openings and so on. So I'm more, if you're just someone who's a bit of a casual player who has an interest, I'm your connection. If you're a more experienced player who knows the names of all the openings and knows some ins and outs, then Nick's more the guy you're going to relate to here. But between us, we cover everything.
Yeah, and I'm also on a big chess improvement jag as well. I'm really trying to get. I had a lesson yesterday. I had a Skype coaching lesson with a FIDE master in Italy, and I've had a couple with grandmasters as well, and they're really interesting. He was great. He gave me a test. I had to do solve all these positions, and he was asking, "Do I recognise them?" Some of them were from World Championship games and stuff, for him to sort of figure out my level. And he reckoned my level was around 2000 rated, which is to be honest, that's probably around right now because I was higher rated than that, and I'm trying to get back to where I was and then higher. And my aim is to become a FIDE master in the next year or two. But what we thought we'd do. One of the things we've been doing is we're going through.
I beat a 2100 player the other day on Chess with Friends, and totally surprised. But he made a mistake, like a glaring mistake,
right? Which
was unusual because normally if someone's around 2100, I'm not playing against mistakes. They're not going to make mistakes. I'm only playing for. In fact, largely at some of that level, I'm being very, very careful in defence the whole way through.
Although I think the rating
block everything.
I think the rating system on Chess with Friends is quite weird because I had a look at the top rated players and they were in the high higher than that, right? Some of them was like 5,000 or something ridiculous like that.
Oh yeah, there's 5,000 players. Yeah, those ones are called cheats.
That's impossible.
Yeah.
But it's impossible. Even the highest rated computers in the world are like 3,500 or something. So it can't be. What it is just over time your rating goes up and up and up. So it doesn't work like a normal rating. It can't. Because I had a look at some of the games of people like that, and they were not all that. I mean, they were decent, but they were occasional. I mean, I spotted a couple of mistakes in them, and I'm not the kind of guy to spot mistakes in 3,000 plus rated players. So I just think it's a very strange rating system, and you can just keep gaining points by. I think maybe it's more like Conkers than chess. But anyway.
No.
I know it's not literally.
You don't take someone else's points, man. I was just thinking that would be a good way of doing things. Though you just take all their points and. If you played Conkers like that, the way we played Conkers in school, I seem to remember from years ago, was if you beat them and their Conker was a sixer, and you add their six to your score, right?
Yeah, that's how I remember.
Yeah, which makes some sense because you've beaten a sixer, so it's good. But I always thought this. I don't know whether it's something when I go to the gym, I try and jump on a treadmill just as someone else is getting off, so I can take their 15 kilometers.
I was just thinking that, like, you can imagine, like with boxing, a boxer who's beating everybody is eventually going to get completely knackered, and he's been punched. So there's a point where even like Mike Tyson would go down to anybody once he's been punched enough.
Yeah, wait the right time.
Anyway,
you're right. With Chess with Friends, you can keep on playing people much lower than you, but you'll only grab. I don't think you're right, because I think you'll only grab a couple of points each time.
Yeah,
the ones who've got like 3,000 ratings, they probably are just cheating. They're just using a computer. Winning every game, I would expect.
But I mean, the 5,000 ones that shouldn't work. You just can't have that with ELO ratings. So however it works some other way.
It could be aliens.
They'd have to be playing other aliens.
Of aliens. Yeah.
Anyway,
well,
I keep trying to start explaining what we've been doing, which is we've been going through some older games, and in particular, the older games we've been going through at the moment have been games by Paul Morphy. Just because I think he's a very enjoyable style, and he's a very enjoyable person to start with.
He's a nice bloke.
Yeah, lovely bloke.
He's fun to have a coffee with.
Didn't live long. But he's also,
Did he not live long? How long did he live?
Less than 50.
Really?
Yeah, 1837 to 1884.
Yeah, that wasn't bad for those days.
Should
we have a look at
it
his
wasn't
game
great. Yeah, so
Yeah, it's not great.
I've chosen 2 games at
Nothing to be proud
random,
of.
which means I haven't really chosen them. And we're going to do this on Lee chess this time. So this this first is Paul Morphy versus Anonymous. So NN it says, and anytime the other player isn't listed, that heavily suggests that they were an amateur player. So this might be a total massacre.
Oh, right. So you don't know what's coming up here?
No, I do not.
Cool. All right. Let's play. Let's have a look at the game. So we start off with
Morphy's playing
E4.
white. Plays E4, which he, to my knowledge, pretty much always played. I don't know if he ever played D4. Or it wasn't unknown at the time, but it was a lot rarer.
That's interesting. When I first learned an opening,
Yeah.
I didn't know whether it's bad form to keep doing the same opening. But now I realize, I've only got 2 main openings that I do, but I just do them all the time. And I suppose it's the best way to build a repertoire, but I don't know. I don't know whether it's best to, I think if you learn it, I do sort of mess with a few others, but I don't really know what I'm doing.
Right, I understand. I mean,
that's the way I'm in life.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Like one of the things that this FIDE master I had the lesson with the other day recommended that I switch my opening as black, and I went, I really don't want to. I just want to improve a little bit because my knowledge of the openings I play as black is so deep in some of them.
Which are your favourite openings in black?
Well, I play 1e5. I play this position here that we've got on the board. I play this as black. And that means that I've got a system against the King's Gambit. I've got a system against the Italian game. I know loads of things against, a lot of the intricacies of the 2 knights defense and things like that.
When you play against D4, what's your standard reply?
I normally play the semi-Slav at the moment.
Which is?
Semi-Slav is...
Just your opening few moves, so... Okay.
So something like this, and if here, then here. That's a semi-Slav.
Okay.
Which can go loads of different ways.
You sort of got. I'm doing now the Caro-Kann quite a lot, so you sort of got the same thing there, except it would have been probably the bishop would have come out to C5.
Well, so this is now the Caro-Kann, although I reversed White's moves.
Yeah.
You play this as black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah.
There's a lot of really good people showing how to play this at the moment online. I guess is that where you're learning your? You what?
I'm not a good person.
No, I wasn't suggesting that. I was saying I was going to ask is where are you learning the Caro-Kann?
Where am I learning it? I'm just doing it, mate.
Oh right, so this is it. This is the end of your...
I don't learn things. I just know roughly how it looks in its opening state. So I try to aim to get into that position.
Yeah, Sid is saying he wished he'd learned how to play D4 as a kid. He's trying now, and it feels very odd. Yeah, it's a different planet slightly, like so many different, tactics and patterns. Yeah,
Which tends to lead to more aggression? E4, I guess.
That is.
I think we discussed this once, didn't we?
We might have done. That's the standard reply. Is people were E4's the aggressive tactical one and D4's the positional one, but that's just so simplistic and obviously not true at all.
Right.
Like there are really this is an E4 opening and it could go loads of ways.
Okay, let's go back to the beginning then, because I was sorry, I've just took us off on a tangent. So we go E4, E5.
Okay, so Morphy's playing some guy, we don't know who it is. No one knows who it is. Their name will
NN. Anonymous.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the most prolific players of the era. Anonymous.
No. Okay, it takes.
So we have
pretty standard at the moment.
The Queen's Gambit. This is the King's Gambit accepted.
Yeah.
So you know what to play here is white.
Morphy's going to bring the knight up to F6. So F3.
f3. Yeah, that's the main move. There's also this move, knight c3.
Right, that's the Vienna, isn't it? But although
No,
normally
it's
the knight
not.
would
Not
come
in this
to
order.
there before. Not in this order, yeah.
Yeah, in
But
this
it's that
this
position.
move order, yeah, the Vienna is knight c3 on move 2, and then I mean you can reply with this, or you can reply with this. After this is the Vienna Gambit, which transposes in some lines, but if you accept it, that's very bad for black, because now e5, and this knight has no squares, right? If it goes to either of these squares, the queen can take it. Either of these squares, the knight can take it.
Yeah, I've been playing with that one a little bit. It's quite interesting because people don't seem to know it. So
yeah, so white gets a gigantic advantage after this, which is saving the knight. White's got a huge advantage in development. This is a bit different because if you play knight c3 here, there's no knight to kick. Obviously, if black makes this, that's a very stupid move, and you transpose. But black has this option as well.
Yes, which looks interesting.
Yeah,
that looks pretty nasty, actually.
It's
a bit late for the knight to
king has to go there,
defend.
But there's actually quite a bit of compensation for black, because the knight's going to come to f3 and hit the queen. The queen will have to move again. So it looks mental putting your king there, and I definitely wouldn't enjoy doing it.
So you mean enough compensation for white, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, except for black. So get it right, Nick. It's too important, this podcast, this broadcast.
It is. But Morphy goes with the main
right,
move.
So Morphy takes that.
Yeah.
And Morphy does do knight to f3.
Knight f3, yeah. Which is the main move and the best move, probably.
Cool.
There's also... I don't know why I was talking about knight c3 here. That is a thing, but also... Sorry, I'll tell you why I got confused. Bishop c4, it's a bishop's gambit. That's what I thought. I thought king e2 looked meant. And the point is, after this, king f1. Right,
okay.
It's not quite as insane as getting it in the way of your queen and your bishop. And in a move's time, that's going to hit the queen.
Right.
So that's the bishop's gambit, which is still, not as good. So here, there's a number of different ways to play as black. I know what you play. Are you playing the Caro-Kann, aren't you? So you won't get into this.
Well, sometimes I've got a few different openings I kind of like, and I'm playing with. My guess would be for black now to bring out the bishop on f8 actually, and put him on to say c5.
Okay, that I think would be a really bad move.
Really? Why?
Because that is inviting white to make a move he wants to make anyway, and you're giving him a tempo. So white's just going to do that now.
Oh, I see.
And in one move, you've given him the full pawn center in the center and gain of time. You have to move the bishop. Next move, he's going to take that, unless you drop the bishop back here, and that's even worse because now you get kicked again. You could check, no good. Back you go. Take that, or even wait a move, develop this. Castle next move.
Okay,
Black's in a lot of trouble here.
So I want to get something out though, but I think let me go back to the position. Okay. Oh wow. Well, maybe bringing out the b8 knight now. Although my temptation is to I don't know really. I think with this kind of opening, would my aim as black be to try and look to castling on queen side so that I can attack down the weak side, the weak king side of the white?
Not necessarily, because white's going to have a lot of open lines. White's going to be coming at you because he's played the king's gambit as well, which tells you quite a lot about him.
Well, it means he's going to do a fast attack on the king side,
he's going to get the bishop here. He's going to castle so that the rook's going to end up here, and everything's going to be coming down at this weak pawn. There are numerous moves here which are all fine. There's so to name one, you could put just the bishop here. And that's introducing the possibility of checking here.
Okay. Feels a bit passive,
That's
though.
called the Cunningham Defense. There's
Very cunning.
the Fischer Defense, which is like the old move was G5.
Yeah.
And that still is one of the sort of better reputations here. But what's called the Kizeritsky Gambit. This is showing you how much I used to know about the King's Gambit. I can remember all the names, even though I mixed up the Bishop's Gambit earlier. White can do this immediately. You play.
Sicilian's got to head out. No worries, Sicilian. We'll be playing this game for the rest of the week.
Yeah, no worries. And obviously you can't maintain it because after this there's a pin down the H file.
Yeah.
So you push here, and the main line Kizeritsky is here. At which point you're probably going to end up taking here with the knight. So if, for example, they do this, what's the... Do you go bishop c4 here or d5? I don't remember any of the theory. But the...
Okay, well, let's go back to what happened.
Well, I'll tell you what I play as black.
Yeah.
I play knight f6 here, which it's a really interesting line. So e5, very natural, and the knight h5.
Yeah.
Which looks like a tactical liability, except there's nowhere good to put this knight. Like, so this knight looks like it's hanging here, but if you can't go knight g5, because I'll just take it with the queen and save my knight. And if you play knight d4, which isn't a good move anyway, there's queen h4 check.
Yeah.
Which is a bit of a nightmare, because now there's knight g3 check as well. It takes that.
Takes.
Okay, so you can't really do anything immediately. And then after this, you can start chipping away here. If he takes, you take back, and you've actually got two pieces now defending this pawn. And it's all very well having opened up this line for white, but if you can't take this pawn back, it's a real pain in the ass.
Yeah.
D4, castles, and the other thing you end up doing is you go G6. So you just make this impervious. And this is actually really hard to break down for white, and white has not enough compensation for the pawn in these sorts of positions. Those aren't the only moves, but that's the general idea. Is you play the knight there, then you play the pawn here.
That's quite interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't have naturally thought to play the knight to f6 because I would have seen it's going to be kicked straight away, and and h5 didn't look like a great square for it. But
it's actually a really annoying square for it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not a lot that white can do to really attack it or do much about it without moving that knight out of the way. Okay, so let's continue back to the
that's
game.
A very new line. What Anonymous played was G5.
Right. Oh, he does play G5. Okay.
Yeah. Which was the main move and is still theory. So,
okay, and I'm really out of depth with all this. So even like normally when we've gone through Morphy games, and maybe at a point in a while as things get more interesting, I'll try and do some of my guess what happens next. I did really well at the last game, didn't I?
You did amazingly well. Yeah.
A few. Yeah. So that's why I don't want to risk it this time.
No, but tell you what,
ruin my reputation I have with our few viewers.
Tell you what, let's give you a choice, because I reckon it's incredibly obvious that the next move is one of two things. So I'll call you a winner if you can guess the next move within. If you can, it's going to be one of two moves. I think there are only two obvious moves for white that are in the spirit of the King's Gambit.
For white, right now.
For white, yeah. And if I sum up the spirit even more,
here's the things. Go on.
I was going to say the spirit is to get your pieces out quickly, take over the centre because this pawn in the centre is gone. Yeah, it's been shifted out, and open lines. And the early attacks tend to be against this pawn.
Against that pawn, against F4.
F7. F7.
Oh, I see. So you got an arrow pointing at F4 there.
Sorry, F7.
When you said this pawn, you have to be more precise for me. Okay. Well, okay. The things I noticed, first of all, that the queen's possible attack on H4 is now blocked. So that means that the knight on f3 can move right now without being afraid immediately of an attack coming in.
Yeah, but what do we know about Morphy and how did he play?
And I also noticed that the bishop move I was suggesting before going to c4 is doable now because you can't just kick him straight off because the pawn can take.
That's because you were suggesting bishop c5 for black, which is a bad move, but bishop c4 for white is a totally different question.
I'm getting confused. Bishop c4 for white seems quite good to me because it's attacking straight away, attacking that f7 pawn.
Yeah.
The one that pawn that we hate, that one that has to go. Which is quite nice. I'm just seeing if there's any advantage for the knight or even the pawn to advance onto. I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if Morphy goes for some major advance, although there's still all the pieces from the left side of the board aren't placed yet.
Exactly, you've got to get your pieces out.
Okay, the very fact you emphasize that makes me think that's probably what happened then. So, what, knight to c3? It seems a bit boring.
There is knight to c3, but it is a bit boring. Yeah.
And pawn to, and also d4 looks tempting for me as well.
Yeah,
because I think then we're controlling the center.
Okay, even though I've already told you that this later became the theory, that wasn't theory then, right?
Yeah.
So I would say the two most natural moves. So let's get rid of these circles. Two most natural moves are to put the bishop here, or to put the pawn there. Those are the two things I would expect most from Morphy.
I'm going with the pawn.
Okay.
d4.
Let's see. Bishop.
It's not. It's bishop. Bishop c4. Okay,
yeah.
So all hard
attack. Kind of the most flexible as well because it allows castling next.
Yeah.
Oh right, I've now seen ahead and seen we've got. Is this the Allgaier Gambit? Certainly, it's the same pattern. All right, here's what happens.
Right, pawn advances down.
Yeah.
Attacks the knight. I think I've seen this position before, actually.
Okay.
This can't be that unusual, can it? Because I think it's can't be in a game, and that's pretty good. The knight's not good to move because that's opened up the chance again for the queen to attack on h4. But at the same time, I've got a feeling that you leave the knight. I'm wondering, is it a bad idea just to take the f pawn right now?
With the bishop?
No, we haven't got enough for an attack.
Yeah, I would say you don't have enough for an
attack, and it isn't really. I'm wondering if it's good to castle at this point.
Yeah, that's very in the spirit of. And also, I think it's a little bit of extra info in the game if we just remind ourselves this was Morphy playing white versus Anonymous as black. So he maybe played the most full-on attacking chess that possibly he wouldn't try against like Adolf Anderson or someone at the time. But Morphy played this.
Okay. Would castling have been that bad? How would that have worked out? I mean, he would have then taken the knight, but I'm wondering whether it's actually worth, because the King's Gambit, you're prepared to give up pieces for an advantage, right? That's quite a good advantage.
There's definite compensation, is what I would say.
Yeah.
I don't think let's say you probably have to play a bit weirdly as black. Let's say play this.
Okay.
Out of interest, what would you play here as white?
I think d4.
D4.
Yeah, planning to play e5 and just start making things really difficult for the queen to hold that line.
That's interesting. Okay, d4 I think loses a piece straight off. Queen takes d4 check, and you're losing the bishop as well.
Oh, that was a bad idea. No, I wouldn't do d4. That'd be a stupid thing to do.
Yeah.
I would. Okay, maybe knight c3.
Knight c3 also loses a piece for the same reason, though. Queen d4 check is threatened.
Oh, yeah, doesn't it? I'm not on very good form today.
I was wondering about just e5, but I don't. I think it's probably I know, but you don't care. Then here and now you're threatening to take this. It's probably not sound. And also you've got the queen and the king on the same. It's big old tactical scary things. But probably the best move here is just d3, which is a bit disappointing. And you've got some compensation for the piece, but it's not like winning.
It wasn't great. It wasn't great. Yeah, it wasn't worth it. Okay, so what we have is d4.
d4 he plays.
Yeah.
So he takes it. White takes back. So this is the second game we've seen of Morphy's where he ends up with the queen and the bishop in this configuration, which is like the scholar's mate setup, right?
So he has just given away his knight for compensation.
He's sacrificed a piece in exchange for time and development.
Yeah. Okay, let's see if it pays off. Because it's Morphy with
because it's Morphy and he's playing against an amateur. So something I just saw now. I just noticed a line. Say queen comes here, check. You can just stop the check like that, and this loses immediately to mate in 2. Check. Checkmate.
Right. Nice. Well, this has been a timed game, do you know?
I don't know. I don't know if they really did much timing of games at the time. It might even have been part of a simultaneous. Like maybe he was playing more than one game at once.
Yeah. But I suppose they had chess clocks or anything, particularly. Didn't have buttons you bang,
I don't know when the first chess clocks came in. Anyway, Black plays this.
Hold for a sec. First chess clock was 1883. Called the tumbling chess clock. Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah, so that really
Manchester, England. Well, doesn't that not surprise me? Well done, Manchester. Okay, sorry. So where are we? Bishop comes out to h6.
Yeah, defending the pawn.
Move?
No, not really.
Doesn't seem to be doing much, does it? Because the bishop can just take the pawn now.
Yeah.
The white bishop, I mean.
That's interesting. Yeah, can you just take it? He's a piece down, remember? So, look at this pin. Hang on.
But what if e5 rather than the bishop taking the pawn? Sorry, the point where the queen came out. So bishop takes pawn, takes f pawn.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Sorry. Here, bishop takes.
Queen comes down.
Pawn f5.
e5. Yeah.
No, that just loses the bishop. Queen takes.
Oh, doesn't
bishop?
It?
Yeah.
Sorry. Yep. I'm doing the kind of suggestions that I do when I'm playing bullets at the moment. Okay, so what was the last move? Last move was
bishop h6.
Bishop h6. And Morphy really wants to put some more pressure on the f7 pawn, I would have thought.
Yeah, so
I'm tempted to castle again now. Not again, but I mean, it's another thought.
That's what he does.
I'd like to get my rook behind that queen and forcing up that file, the f file.
Yeah. If we just I think there's a moment that's worth flagging up. Just a couple of moves about before bishop h6 here. Black is technically better in this position, right? There's some compensation for the piece, but not enough compensation for a piece. And the way you show
does
that
does the computer actually tell you what the rating is right now?
The computer says it's -2, which means that it. What's the pawn count?
Basically, a 2-piece advantage for black right now.
Two pawn advantage.
2 pawn advantage, yeah.
But since the material advantage he has is a piece, which is like 3 pawns, that suggests that there's about a pawn's worth of compensation.
Okay.
But what you can do, and it's really worth remembering this, in E4, E5 games, in Gambits, you can play this. Now that loses a pawn back, sacrifices a pawn back. But if he takes it like this, then he's blocked his own bishop in.
Right.
And if he takes it like this, you can add it to the computer now suggesting kicking the bishop, because when you drop it back, you lose this with check. No, it's not with check, so we haven't castled yet. But I mean,
but that's nice to know. That's a nice little.
As an idea. Also, quite often knight f6 here would be the idea as well. But just sacking a pawn back. What it does is it forces white to spend a move taking, and meanwhile you've helped your queenside develop. You know, this bishop is breathing. So it's worth. So after this, bishop h6 was definitely not black's strongest. And the position is now fine for white. Like white isn't worse now.
Yep. No, white looks good to me actually. I really like that strength on the up the F file.
Yeah, absolutely. It's classic King's Gambit.
I'm only imagining black has a choice now of trying to strengthen that area or scrambling to get his pieces out on the king side.
Yeah. It also feels
this would all be quite popular at the time, wouldn't it? King's Gambit would have been quite a popular opening.
It was
opening set of moves. So players would have known, all the basic repercussions of that opening.
Yeah.
So I wonder whether, even at the position we're at right now, whether it would be that unusual a point to get to.
That's a good point. I actually don't know. It's possible. So maybe bishop h6 was sort of theory at the time. Because it's not like you could go home and check it with a computer. So if you've been playing if you saw somebody good play it once and they did all right, and you've played it a few times and it's been all right for you, as far as you know, maybe it's the best move.
Yeah. Okay. So where are we? We're white to play, aren't we?
Black to play.
No, we just castled. Black to play.
Yeah. So black plays c6, and at this point you go, mate, what are you doing? I mean, that's just a horrible, horrible move strategically.
That seems to be utterly pointless. I mean, he's planning to bring his D pawn out
maybe he's planning that.
As you just pointed out, he could do the D5 now anyway, rather than leave it to back it up with the C pawn.
Yeah.
So all he's done is he's blocked his bishop getting out, and he's also made it difficult for the knight to get out.
Yeah, it feels to me like black is one of these players who doesn't want to give up any material at all. And he's playing, one of the most dynamic players who's ever lived up to that point, who cares nothing for material if he can get activity for it.
Yeah, I saw an interesting chess talking video a while ago, which pointed out something which is probably really obvious to someone at your level, but not always obvious to newer players, is that when we count what's on the board and what value your pieces have actually got, the ones who are idle and still stuck behind pawns aren't doing anything, are they? They're not. Sometimes your active pieces are worth so much more, even if you've got fewer pieces, because there's more of them on the board actually doing something. And if you can see that the other player has got pieces locked up and they can't escape, then they don't really. The computer might still count it as towards his points, but they don't matter if I've got fast moves going on.
I think this is one of the key insights into chess per se, because you get told that different pieces are different value because they're stronger, right? But you've got to consider, what does that mean? Like, why is the queen so much stronger than a bishop? What does that mean? And it means it can reach more places, it can hit more squares, control more territory, attack more things. So a queen that is trapped in the corner and can't do those things is now not better. Like, it's lost the reason it's meant to be better than a bishop.
Yeah.
This rook...
So, I mean, And Morphy's really, they've both got the same number of pieces that aren't doing. Although Morphy's bishop is doing something, whereas all the pieces on the queen's side of black, they're all just idle, and they're blocked from actually moving or being at all useful in any kind of battle.
Yeah, well, let's actually consider how strong these things are. So here's a bishop, right? How strong is this individual, but not how strong is a bishop, and I'm not telling you what the position is. How strong is a bishop compared to a pawn? It's worth 3.5 to 4. No. How strong is this bishop?
Right.
Well, it's got 1, 2, 3 squares it can go to.
Yeah.
How strong is this bishop? Well, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 squares.
Oh, that's an interesting way of looking at this. Okay.
So in terms of the mobility of the pieces, this bishop is that's interesting. Sorry, Lichess keeps the green circles. This bishop is worth nearly 3 times the other bishop.
Yes.
And it's one of the reasons you look at, like, that's when he played that, and I went, mate, what are you doing? It's because he's just relegating what could be an amazing piece to this terrible job.
Yeah, but all it's doing now is just it's a defender of a pawn.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So where are we up to now? Is that
he's
where
played
the last
C6,
move was made?
and a load of green circles have appeared on the board.
Can we get rid of those?
Yep.
Yeah.
There we go. Oh, how do you do that?
I just clicked the square where they're not.
Ah, okay. White is much, much better here because C6 is such a total lemon. It's a horrible move. So you have a variety of ways to play. I don't think there's even only one winning move now. White is just much better. So do you want to suggest something?
I'm between. I'm between bringing. Let's see if I bring my knight out now. Let's say he does pawn. Let's say he's almost certainly going to do. The other thing about doing something like C6 is you're telling the other player what you're going to do next.
Yeah, that's a good point. I know what you mean.
Do you know what I mean? I always think moves like that just kind of say, by the way, here's what to prepare for. So let's see what happens if he does do D5. Is that I'll take with my E4. He takes back, and then I can take that because the queen can't take the bishop because my queen's protecting it. And that's a really nice position. That's interesting. So what happens if I lead with my D4 to D5 right now? He takes it, I take it. I can take it back. I'm almost tempted to do that. I'm wondering whether that's a bad move, actually. Yeah.
I think in a lot of positions that would be a good move. In this particular position, I don't think that's the break you want in the centre because your bishop was so amazing, and let's count its squares now.
Yeah, I know, but it's down to whether or not he would kind of need to take that pawn, which I think he does, doesn't he? I mean, he could just leave it, but his pieces are all blocked up by doing it.
So let's say he brings the queen out here and really tries to bolster stuff. What's your plan?
I think because I really want to get that lift the E pawn up. I'm tempted to put my rook on E1.
Right, you know what you just walked into again.
I have, haven't I? Once again, queen can go to. Yeah. I keep falling for D4.
Yeah.
Okay.
Check.
All right. I don't think I would actually in a game play D5 there. I was just looking at whether it could be done there.
I think quite often, I think it's a good instinct, right? I definitely considered it when he played C6. Like, one of the things that immediately came on my radar was D5. Because it prevents him from ever playing D5. In a closed position, D5 would be a very good move. In this massive open position with this gigantic lead in development, you want to blow things open, even at the cost of material. So, I mean, the move Morphy played wins, but it's not the only thing.
Really?
Wins.
So is it a really strong move coming up? It's not just another development.
Not just.
So I'm trying to decide between whether to do a developing move right now or whether to push up, say, the E pawn.
Well, tell you what. What's the most let's say it's a developing move, even though it wasn't. But let's play a developing. Pick any. Name me the different developing moves that are left.
Knight c3.
Knight c3.
Which I think is definitely the best place for the knight.
Okay.
Well, and maybe e5.
E5 isn't a developing
E5
move.
allows him to take c2. No, it's not a developing move. It could be. I could still do the bishop takes f4.
Bishop takes f4. Yeah, that's incredibly natural. I think it's probably the best move, although it's not what Morphy played.
Really?
Yeah. And this now is, I mean, just look at this. Well, look just the squares controlled by these bishops and these pawns.
Yeah,
this
is
like
domination.
It looks like White has had 6 moves without Black making a move.
Yes. Yeah. Looks like Black's just waking up.
Yeah.
Okay, so he doesn't take the pawn. So I'm presuming it's not a developing move he's going to do, is it? It's an attacking move.
Yeah, it's a sacrifice, in fact.
Really?
Yeah, very thematic sacrifice.
Before I was saying that bishop takes f7, and I'm still... Okay, let me see whether that's bad at this point. The reason why it was bad before... Actually, yeah, I think it's good now. Oh, no, it's not. I don't end up with the bishop.
Talk me through. Okay, tell you what. Talk me through the moves. What are you thinking?
Well, I'm thinking bishop takes f7.
Bishop takes f7. So king takes.
And then maybe king takes f7, and then queen goes to h5.
Queen goes h5. Okay. Where would you expect the king to go?
I'm just looking at that. Well, maybe he just goes to e7 or he can go to f8 looks dangerous to me.
F8 looks a bit mental. Like staying on the f file. Maybe,
but I would have thought going to e7 would also be pretty dangerous for him. Because there's still a chance his bishop can come up and make that diagonal. He would be on a diagonal with his queen.
I'm trying to work out whether G7 is any good.
G7 and the queen moves across to E5.
Then queen F6.
And then it looks like he moves away, and then does the queen take the rook?
But then queen F6 he has.
Oh, he does, doesn't he? Okay.
So if we show this on the board.
Well, let's run it through. So queen 5.
Let's do this.
And
this is the thing I was wondering about. And we're saying this, and
yeah, I'm looking there.
I think in this case you can do this. But in fact, this is
it's probably not worth it, is it?
Well, this is still winning for White. This position.
He's got him on the run.
Sorry, hang on. We were looking at this. Yeah, this is still very good for White. But not if you do that.
Okay.
What you need to do is open. This isn't what happened, by the way.
Well, maybe no, it doesn't work.
But you need more.
Well, what if you take the bishop? What if you take the pawn now? Take the f pawn now?
Yeah. I think that's the right move. And
so bishop's going to have to take back, isn't it? Which brings my rook out.
I'm just thinking what the threat is, and there's a lovely threat. Let's say he does something stupid. You just go, there's an even stronger one the computer's pointing out, but I saw this.
Go on, explain it.
You're threatening the queen, but you're also threatening mate. Do you see the mate threat?
Yes, you are. Yep.
Threatening mate
on f7.
Yeah, the computer put. Oh, nice! The computer's changed his mind again, and now it likes my move more. But the computer was saying this, which is pretty horrible as well.
Yeah.
But I thought, yeah, this. And it's just
one of these ones,
over.
I think I'd work out a few moves ahead. But the reason why I'm looking at taking f7 with the bishop is because that's one that I think during a game I would just play on instinct, going, that looks like it's just making such a difficult... the king's in completely open space.
Yeah.
And so hard to defend. And I've got quite a number of pieces I can make life difficult with. So I think that would be more my reason for doing it, rather than because I've worked it out to the nth degree of how exactly it's going to end up. I just go instinctively, that looks nasty.
Yeah, I think once you've decided that it's, you don't necessarily have to calculate every single line till mate. You just can, especially once you're quite experienced, you can sort of look at the position and go, that he's not surviving that.
If Morphy doesn't take f7 now, then I know it's definitely a bad idea, because he's we're talking about an aggressive player anyway.
Yeah, and in fact, the best move, according to the computer, is to take this pawn.
Take it now, right?
Oops, sorry. But Morphy did take f7.
Oh, he did take f7. Yes. All right. Me and Morphy in a tree. That's not how that goes. Me and Morphy in a tree.
Me and Morphy in a tree, circa 1883.
Okay, so he takes that. King does take back.
King takes back because all of Morphy's opponents who don't have names accept all sacrifices.
Yeah. And now maybe it's not Queen H. I think it is Queen H5, but maybe I'm also tempted to take the f pawn now with the knight, with the bishop. I mean,
yeah. Well, you're right, but I think we've just established Queen H5 wins, right?
I like Queen H5. I'm just saying there is. I'm wondering what Morphy would have done. I reckon Morphy would have gone H5 with the Queen.
Oh, unlucky.
He didn't. Oh, really?
He didn't. But now, there's a weird thing with because I've got Stockfish turned on now because we were looking at the line, and the weird thing is that when it looks at a line, you show it learns the line. So now it prefers our line to Morphy's line.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the computer here wants to go there. Which is like a clean win. That black is not surviving.
He looks it away, yeah. Yeah.
Looking again, I mean if he goes here, there's this really nasty check. Back.
Yeah.
And you can take the rook, but why bother? That's so horrible.
Yes.
And if he tries that, then I was going to say bishop h6 is winning, but he's got knight f6, of course. Yeah, but just queen back and check.
Yeah.
And he's anyway. It's all sorts of horrible.
It's totally horrible. Okay, so we did Queen H5. No,
he didn't. He took an f4.
Oh, sorry, no, he took with the bishop. That's right.
Yeah.
He took with the bishop, which surprised me slightly. But actually, I can see that's quite nice because you've got this discovered check, and really nasty one, which is going to happen unless he takes the bishop straight away, which is no advantage. I'm wondering whether he brings his queen out. I'd get my king off that file. Can he do that? And is there any advantage to doing that? Maybe bring the king up to back to E1, E8.
King back to E8. That
but then,
is not
bishop
good.
Can't take
I mean,
bishop.
this if someone gave you this position, I think you would sit there and figure out what the win is, because it looks so that king looks so vulnerable with this line.
Oh yeah.
So
his f6 move from before looks so pathetic.
Okay.
That was a moment where he could have done something back there and given him some kind of defense, and that f6 pawn is just sitting there, stopping the other two pawns from moving, blocking in his bishop and his knight, no defense whatsoever.
Yeah, well, we'll spot. Tell you what, there's mate in 2 here. Have a go.
With for white now.
Yeah.
Unless you're telling me there's some big surprise twists coming up. So 1 minute, are we at what Morphy? Sorry, what NN has actually done? Is this a correct position? Or
no, we're going through. We're going through what would have happened if he put his king back on E8.
Okay. And there's a mate in 2.
Yep. It's really sweet.
1, bang, bang. Okay, let's say I did bishop to g5.
Okay.
He takes with his bishop. I take with my queen. That'd be 2 moves already. That's no good. There's a mate in 2.
Yeah, so it's kind of a big help when you get told it's mate in 2, isn't it? But
let's say I take his bishop.
Where? What are you doing first move?
With my bishop. I'm looking to free up. I'm assuming I need the F file clean.
Well, tell you what. Why don't you tell me all of the checks that are in the position?
All of the checks right now. Okay, so queen h4.
Yeah.
Bishop g5.
Yeah.
Can we show these for people who don't who are like me and don't see these ways?
So this is one.
Queen
here.
h4 here.
Checking that way.
Or bishop h5 there.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Take that back.
That is one.
Sorry, I'm going to do that. Those are the only 2 checks available right now. Oh, no,
that is not correct. There are at least 2 more.
I know.
3 more.
I could also do bishop here. Yeah, I was looking at. Okay, bishop to d6.
Yeah, that's definitely one. What happens if you? All right, let's
queen to f7.
Queen
Would be
f7
really
is one.
stupid.
Yeah. Where else can the queen go to check that we haven't mentioned?
Here onto e5.
Yeah, or onto g5, or onto c5, or onto e8.
Or here, yes.
So there's a lot more checks.
Sorry, let's run through them. Or onto e8. Sorry, e8.
So let's just make them on the board, right? So check, that's one. Horrible. Check, that's one. I mean, you would look at this just in case, but it's not good. It's horrible. That is check as well, although that's slightly ridiculous. Although, funnily enough,
I wasn't counting totally ridiculous ones.
Well, funnily enough, that doesn't lose as much as you think. It's still bad, but check back, and you're skewing the king and queen. And if you push the knight in the way, you're still skewing them. So, I mean, there's no reason to play this way, but it's a move. There's also check.
Which is quite nice, actually. I really like that check because it forces the king onto the F file.
Yeah, so that check is still
just
winning.
Where I want him to be.
There's also this check, which is less good because of the.
Well, that
got
lets
this available.
him go back on. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my favorite is here at the moment. He goes on to. Well, he'd have to go either here or here.
Yes, so that straight away looks winning, but we've gone through all the checks.
Discovered check. Okay, go on.
That's a check, right?
Yeah.
What does black play?
He could take the bishop with his king.
Okay.
In fact, I think he has to.
Yeah, he's only got one legal reply. So it is worth, if you see a check that only has one legal reply, you should definitely look into it.
Why is that?
White to play and mate in one.
White. And now queen to e5 is checkmate.
Yeah. It's actually kind of sweet, eh?
Right. So run back a couple of moves. Let's have a look at those. What you just said is, if you see a check where there's only one legal reply, it is worth looking into. Why? Because it's easier to calculate, or because?
Yeah, well, because it's the most forcing line. So if the most forcing line is winning, you've saved a lot of time by calculating it early on.
Right.
Which is the same kind of reason that you also look at checks and captures and forcing moves first when you're calculating.
So bishop's here. King absolutely has to take it.
Yeah, no choice whatsoever.
He doesn't. I mean, he can go on to e6.
Oh, sorry, you're quite right, but it's mate for the same reason. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, that was a big blind spot. There we go.
And then once again, we're in checkmate at that point. Lovely. Is that how the game ended, or we
were just talking about him moving his king. What happened in the end was that black took here,
Right.
So white, it doesn't take much to guess white's move.
I think the queen goes back to d1 and goes, I'm just going to have a rest for a while.
You know what?
I've done enough.
Yeah.
I've done enough killing for one day. I've hurt enough people. I don't feel good about myself anymore.
Yeah, you're only supposed to leave the house for absolutely necessary reasons, and it just feels like, is a bishop really something we need?
I've still got my pajamas on. Okay, the queen takes the bishop, unquestionable.
Yeah.
Good. It'd be horrible if it turned out that wasn't the case. Okay, so we're not like before. The king has several choices now, but he doesn't want to go here and block his rook. He's really got to go either to. Okay, so he's got one of these three. Which one's he going to retire to? I'm guessing the king goes back to e8.
He does not.
He does not.
Hang on, e8's mate in 1.
Oh yes, because it is. Yeah, you're right. Totally silly. I'm surprised that black didn't quit at this point.
But like I say, I just chose this at random out of the chess.com database. So yeah. I don't even know if Morphy was looking at the board. He might have been blindfolded and playing 5 other people.
Yeah. Okay, so king to g6.
King g7. That looks really, really particularly mental. Like this loses G7, 2. Right. Everything loses, but I mean I don't know. You can sort of chuck more stuff in the way. Yeah, the actual move played is looks a bit death wishy. So queen f7 right. Here would be checkmate if we still had our dark squared bishop.
Yeah,
but that's what he plays anyway. So
but it's nice anyway because it forces the king into right over into this file.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is quite interesting. It's not done with yet. Yeah, the queen can't come here. There's no immediate check next. I guess the rook comes up to say f3.
Okay, that's interesting. F3.
Ready to end the game.
The problem. So you're thinking come up to f3 so that you can swing across to here, right?
Yeah.
I think the problem with that is that when the d pawn moves, you won't have h3 available to you because the bishop will be hitting it.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Okay, well, let's say f4
then. He also doesn't have h4 available to him now because the queen's hitting it.
Oh, the queen's hitting it, you're right.
So he goes up here, the queen's hitting the square. So try one further.
Well, okay, I'm just looking at that, whether h5 f5 works, which I guess it does then. Of course it does. Sorry, I'm not even realizing. Of course it does, because the queen's controlling h5. So
yeah, so you're threatening to
I guess
just box.
I guess it's rook to f5 for me then.
Yeah, that's what he played. So now this is a question
Black's like, I think I can still win.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I've got a good chance here.
Like the Black Knight in Monty Python. Yeah.
Yeah, he's thinking Morphy might have a heart attack.
Just a flesh wound. Yeah.
Okay. What does Black lamely do now?
Well, he Black sees the threat, which is to bring the rook here, and he plays queen h4, stopping it.
Right.
Morphy's next move is he just brings the knight out. He just goes, "Oh, I just forgot. Okay. What was I thinking? I completely forgot to develop. I must complete my development in the midst of all this chaos. I kind of forgot. You guys have to join in."
Hold on, I'm just looking at something. If the queen had gone to f8 right now instead,
yeah,
the king goes to
g6.
The king would have to go to g6. Oh, no, it doesn't work well like I thought. I thought I was being clever and seeing something, but I'm not. Okay, so knight comes out.
Yeah, knight comes out.
Black has no real moves.
No, it's kind of tragic. I mean, I
maybe.
wonder about this.
Yeah, I was looking at that.
But it does. I mean, the problem is this piece. This piece does just drop off the board, right? Check. You can just take this.
Yeah.
And you're winning. Even stronger according to the engine is check here. This is like mate in a few moves.
Yeah.
I mean, you can kind of you're getting a feel now for how hopeless this is, right?
Yes.
So he played knight e7, which I think is the engine's first choice. And now Morphy plays the planned move, knight f3. Black tries to save the queen, which I think psychologically we can see this about Black, right? Black is the kind of guy who moves his queen when you attack the queen.
Yes.
I mean, this is totally lost. Anyway, hi to Sicilian, who's back.
Hey, you're at the good bit. You just missed the good bit, actually. You're just beyond the good bit. You're on the bit where the show's over and it's still going on. I don't mean our show. I mean, if this was like a musical or whatever, then there's been the happy ending already. We already know this is already the game's over at this point, isn't it?
Yeah, but
really, there's no chance. Black doesn't have a chance of winning. He's just either not getting it at all, or he's going, I just enjoy playing.
Yeah, I mainly do this for the feel of these lovely pieces.
I like moving things. If it wasn't this, I'd be moving the cutlery around. So, yeah. But the thing is, by the way, even at this point we're at, if Morphy had done queen to h5 and 4, like we were saying, the game would be over by now, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
This seems quite surprising for Morphy that he's actually taken unless I'm wondering whether he was enjoying it.
Well, what there sometimes is, I mean, you sometimes calculate something, especially if he was playing blindfold, which is possible. Sometimes you calculate a line, you go, that's winning. And for whatever reason, maybe you're playing other people at the same time, or you know, maybe this is yet another game where he didn't really want to have to think about it because he was trying to enjoy himself, and yet again,
he might have been playing his girlfriend.
He
didn't want to. He was playing his girlfriend. He didn't want to totally demolish her and embarrass her, or his son. Maybe it was his child.
I think he had kids. Maybe.
I'm surprised. I'm really surprised Black is still fighting this out there. But okay, I will sometimes keep a game going beyond the point where I've clearly lost because I feel I've still got something to learn from a chess ending, you know, from calculating pawns or whatever. And I want to, or see if I can hold out, or because maybe I do sometimes if I'm seeing a stalemate.
Yeah, if there's something to play for.
You know, a draw.
Well, maybe what's going on here is if you lost in under 15 moves, you had to buy him a pint.
Right, yeah.
Or like take your trousers off or something.
Yeah.
It's
People
like the bragging rights at the bar afterwards. Well, I lost in 25 moves, so I'm nearly a master. Because this is 14 moves long. That's another reason not to resign, right? Is if it's just too humiliating.
Yes, that one happens sometimes. Just keep it going for a few more, so you can say you played a reasonable number of moves for a game.
Yeah. So
okay, we're at Black's move next, aren't we?
Yeah. So Black rescues the queen.
Black's gonna move the queen.
Yeah. And again, it's mate in 5, but that's not what Morphy did. Morphy did g5. So like he's not at his most focused. I think this isn't one of his greatest games.
No, he's not. He's not going for demolishment, which he normally does.
But I mean, he kind of is. This is clearly winning.
Unquestionably, but just not as quickly as perhaps it could be done.
Well, I don't know if you're just thinking this guy rescues his queen all the time, so he's going to go there, and you go, yeah, all right, mate, or mate. But then this guy goes,
all right, mate, you're dumb.
Yeah,
you were so lost.
I'm doing this. I'm giving up my queen. Because he sees the mate in one. The guy then takes this knight, which just all right. That seems not very good. Like you could rescue this. No, I mean, it's still look. It's a hopeless game. Look at this. Look at this queenside.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
still on the bench.
You're playing at odds. You're deliberately giving your opponent odds of the queenside. Anyway, he takes with check.
Takes.
Puts the queen there. Okay, Morphy's move.
Rook F1.
Yeah. It's kind of nice that even in this sort of game, he goes, no, everybody's going to come. Everybody's got to get involved. I'm not leaving my rook at home. And black resigned here. Oh,
finally gets the message.
I guess,
It's nice, though. It's a nice game. I've got a message here on live chess. I've only just joined live chess. Why have I got a message? It's not from you, is it?
I don't think so.
No. For no reason. It doesn't even say what the message is. Oh, well.
Lee chess, yeah. I think it's Lee chess.
Live chess. Lee chess. Okay.
Yeah, live chess is you can't trust those guys.
I've only read it. I don't know. That's cool. Excellent. Brutal was as usual. That's what we see from I mean, I am saying that back there might arguably been moves that would have finished the game a little bit faster, but Morphy's games tend to be brutal. Then a lot of them do have the King's Gambit opening.
Yeah.
And they get fast in it. Run through it fast and do a quick, because obviously we've been going through it move by move slowly. So do a quick run through from the beginning.
So we have a King's Gambit, knight f3, preventing queen h4 check. G5, so black's going, I am going to hang on to the pawn, which turns out to be something of a theme, right? Black likes to hang on to whatever material is given. And he takes pretty much everything given. Bishop c4, very natural. G4. Morphy does not give a shit. Morphy just plays d4, taking the center, sacrificing the knight.
Have it.
Takes it, takes back. Now, this is not objectively winning for black. Right now, d5. That is the move you make. If you want, in these positions, to survive when you're down this much development, give back a pawn. Throw it back right in the face, right in the middle of the position. He has to take...
That's the lesson of today.
Yeah.
That is the main thing that could have changed this.
Typically, this would be good. This is still a little better for black according to the engine, but in fact, the best move here is c6. That's very particular to this position. Normally, I wouldn't say, hey, yeah, move another pawn. But when he moves, you take a central pawn. Taking a central pawn is a big deal, right? And there's no f3 knight coming to kick your queen with a tempo. So this is better for black. Yeah. But he wasn't that kind of player. Like people at this level, at this time in chess development, didn't understand. Just throw some material back. You're not going to survive this otherwise. So he puts his bishop on this ridiculous square, not even guarding the pawn, right? He can be taken, but Morphy doesn't want it straight away. He wants to develop, so he's now lining up the major pieces down this file. c6, that is the worst move of the game, I think. It's just absolutely appalling move.
Yeah. And it gets more and more embarrassing as we go through what's about to happen. Yeah, it's asking for it.
It's asking for it, and it gets
stupid.
It gets what it asked for. Bishop takes f7, check. Ouch. It's also very, very good to take this straight away. But bishop takes f7, check is very stylish, very Morphy-like. He takes back, and we established, I think, that the best move here is queen h5, and that's winning slightly more convincingly than what Morphy played, but what Morphy played wins as well. He takes here, black takes back, and now that there's no development everywhere. Like all of these pieces are on their starting squares. Only the king has come out, which is very like going shopping but without taking your clothes with you. He's feeling pretty naked, pretty naked there.
This is ridiculous. And c6 is c6 is just like it's like sending a blind army, a soldier out front of the wrong part of the castle during an attack.
Yeah, absolutely.
You stand out there, that'll do something.
Out of interest, Kerry, say he did this. Say he did Queen f6. What would you play here as white, just very quickly? You don't even have to give me a move. Tell me the sort of thing you'd do.
Sort of thing I'm looking at is... What am I going to do? Hold on.
Are you going to take the queen with the queen?
No.
What are you going to do?
Yeah, no, I'm not, because then the knight just takes me back. I I'm looking at. I don't want to do pawn 2e5 because the queen will take queen.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's not really what you want in this position. Yeah, you want to keep your queen on the board, but you've noticed, right, that there's this.
I want to get my queen out of the way, really,
Yeah.
so that I got that line. I was just looking at the best square for her to go to, whether it's to go on to, say, g4, or whether to duck in behind, or onto e3 behind the pawn.
There's a lot of
get away because
a lot of good options.
He's losing his queen next go, so that's certain. But yeah, I certainly move my queen out of the way.
Putting it anywhere is good. This is good.
That was short. Yeah, that's still good. Yeah,
can't be taken right because of the pin.
Yeah.
This is good. The computer likes putting it here, which is nicely geometrical.
Well, it's also because the queen has to take the rook now, doesn't it? So I suppose you can immediately take the queen back.
Doesn't have to. You could try and develop, but it's a bit too late.
Check. Well, either way.
There's e5. Yeah. I mean, this is horrible, right?
Much for muchness.
Yeah, but anyway, just he takes back. Morphy takes. The king, for some reason, comes out. Queen f7. King goes over there. Rook f5. Threatening. A lovely little box here. Queen h4. Stopping mate in 1. And then he just goes, whap, time to develop. Knight here. Knight here. Knight here. Rescues the queen. And again, not the quickest mate from Morphy, but he I think he just thought at this point, if I just do this, he'll move the queen away to rescue it, and then I'll checkmate him. But in fact, he gives up the queen for a losing amount of material. And after this, it's all over. Rook f1, black resigns.
It's pointless.
Again, with nothing developed. It's a bit like the upper box game, right? There's nothing left in a developed position. All of his pieces are just where they started at the beginning of the game.
Yeah. And White has just thrown everything at the Black King and fast, really.
Yeah.
It's, Black's never really had much of a chance to even mount any form of an attack or plan. You know, it's mostly been defensive the whole way through.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a massacre. It's a total massacre.
Play again, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely the worst move of the game, c6.
Yes.
That is
at
just...
That point.
This, if you look on the engine, it says this is equal, right? Because White is a piece down, so you do have the option to give some material back to survive. At this point, this is the move it's giving. This is the line the engine's giving. This, I mean, I'm not going to even comment on any of this. But that's a check. That's a check. It's sort of a constant attack with the queen, and it's like there's no way Morphy would play anything like this, because that's just not his style. He wouldn't go for a draw. But this move here takes it from what's technically a level position, if you actually, if you play like an engine, to a lost position. This is like
why in a real war, in a real battle, that f6 pawn would now be shuffling back embarrassingly. And, oh, sorry,
the c6 pawn.
Whoops. Yeah, so it's c6 pawn.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, it's just like
I feel like an idiot. I'm standing in front of everyone else doing nothing.
Yeah, he's like walked out. Everybody's there with a gun, and he's just walked out with a tray of oranges and going, Is it now?
He's wearing the wrong outfit. He thought it was fancy dress.
Yeah, wearing an outfit with targets all over it. And is it not now? Is this football? Oh, no, sorry.
Whoops. Big whoops.
Yeah.
Okay, good game. Enjoyed that one.
Massacre. All right, do you want to have a look at another one?
I do like Morphy's games. Yeah, I could do a bit. Let's do a faster one this time then. Let's work through it with, I've got about half an hour or something. So
go through it quicker. Yeah.
So these are surprises for us. We don't know what we're going to get with it. You're just choosing, there's hundreds of Morphy games, right?
Yeah, many, many, many games.
And so you're just selecting one and we don't know what's going to come up. So we'll be as surprised as you. Okay,
this is a game against someone called Montredien, who was a French player, I think, who was pretty decent. and Morphy was black
Mongolian.
in this game. So shall we flip the board?
Sure.
We're playing black here. All right, so this is an example of how Morphy plays as black.
My board hasn't flipped. Has your board flipped?
Mine has, yeah.
Hold on.
Do you want to flip
Where's
yours?
Flip board. Well, I need to see how to flip
on the bottom right, there's a little hamburger of 3 lines.
Flip board. Gotcha.
Yeah, found it?
Okay.
Cool.
Yep.
All right. So this is this would have been a serious game. The guy playing white is somebody I've heard of. Heard their name. So they were a master of the time.
Okay. And they start off with E4, E5, and they're playing. So they're going to play the King's Gambit probably.
Welcome to the 19th century.
Against Morphy. Lovely. All right.
Morphy takes it. And hey,
knight to
C3. Not knight to C3.
F3 rather.
Knight F3 is the main move, and knight to C3 is not a move anyone plays ever.
No,
I just did that by mistake earlier. This is the alternative.
All right.
Okay. So we have black now. We have Morphy playing black on the other side of a very, very aggressive, very sacrificial, romantic 19th century style opening. So having learned what we've learned.
Isn't queen to H4 now move?
Absolutely is a move, yeah. And you can play like this. And then maybe you bring this out, and this comes out, and the queen has to go away again. And then D4, and there's some of this going on, but you got a pawn for it, and white can't castle. So, you know.
Yeah, could be worth it.
But it's complicated.
So it's not best with a bit more setup maybe then.
It's one of those things, like if you looked at a computer now, it probably would tell you that is best because you keep a pawn. But it's definitely... I mean, we know how Morphy thinks now a little bit. He's not going to hang on to a pawn for dear life.
No.
So what do you think?
No, and so what we saw from the last game was move centering around doing G5 at this point, which kind of you can see it from the black point of view now and see how kind of that really weakens any kind of black defense doing that. I would feel that I want to I'm looking at either bringing my bishop to C5,
yeah,
or developing my knight from the onto C6.
Okay, so let's talk about like trying to learn from what we said about the last game. What's the problem with bishop C5?
Oh, that of course E4. Sorry, D4.
D4, yeah. Yes, if bishop C5.
Yeah, gets kicked back.
There's this move which is very nice. There's also because this line is open. There's also a little trick. That this is actually a tactical liability. This bishop that's flashing. You could, if you want, play this as white.
Oh, I got you. King takes. Queen comes to H5,
check,
and then comes across and takes the bishop. Which is nasty.
Yeah.
This is why anyone watching this. This is why you should play me.
but it's positionally suspect anyway. Like I think as white, I'd be very tempted just to do this.
Yeah.
Like white's much better here.
All right, so I'm thinking then develop my my knight because that seemed like one of the mistakes the other player made in the last game. The B knight to C6.
This is definitely a very good move. This has a very good reputation theoretically.
Yeah.
Go here and then give something back. I mean, there's different lines here. I think you can do this, and if he does this, you counterattack with this. You know, anyway. But
yeah,
let's say we've been like. Let's say this whole thing is a lesson in what to do when someone plays in a sacrificial way against you in an E4, E5 opening. What's the thematic break for black? The thematic move that says, no, I'm throwing something back in your face. I demand equal development.
Okay.
So we discussed it in the last game.
Well,
Black didn't do it against Morphy, and he should have done.
well, what we discussed is doing d5,
Yep.
and I'm trying to look at whether that does anything with it. But then pawn takes d5, but it's different in this one, isn't it? Because I can't take back straight away.
Yeah, the idea isn't to take back though.
It's just to give it away, just to get that moment.
Yeah, that's what Morphy did. Was he played d5 straight away?
So this is really interesting. Even in this position where we're saying it's worth it to you're just giving your pawn up immediately.
Yeah.
But to gain you've suddenly opened up space for your bishop to get out, and for a bit of freedom of movement generally.
Yes.
And you're saying that's good enough compensation.
Yeah. This is a good move.
Okay.
You can take with either. Like if you take with this, the bishop, which isn't what happened. The idea is kind of what I was trying to show last time, where there were peculiarities of that position. Like White's queen was on f3, and that made a big difference because it meant the d4 pawn was a liability. In this case, knight f6, and you realise, well, if you want to hang on to the bishop, you've got to move it again now, and that's this is your only developed piece, and it's your best attacker. And now, if you want to move it again, I mean, say if you move that, I don't know if you can get away with this. Maybe you can just about get away with this, but I don't think Morphy would do that. Morphy would just develop more pieces.
Yeah.
But in any case, Mongradian took with the pawn here.
Okay.
So now you get this impression of, well, all right, Black's got plenty of open lines for his pieces. Like, this doesn't feel like the last game at all, does it?
No.
Like, immediately you can see why Black's got a lot of play.
It makes a big difference, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So
and also there's none of these threats are happening anymore because there's a pawn in the way. So to make them work, he would have to give up this pawn, and right now that just gets taken by a bishop with a developing move, so that's not very interesting for White. There's more than one decent move here. The computer still wants to check here with the queen. Morphy played knight f6.
Right.
So
okay.
Knight f3.
Yep.
And now knight takes d5.
Gets d5 back.
So he gets it back. You can check here, right? There's an issue with this open line, but it's not very serious. Queen checks, bishop here, and what Black's just going to castle next move.
Yeah, I always think that kind of move is making it easier it's giving Black a tempo to castle anyway. It's not helping much, is it?
That's a very bad move I've just made. Sorry. Oops. Sorry. Sorry. That there was a tactical issue. Sorry. I'm used to this sort of habit of mine.
What did happen?
Yeah. So in fact, you don't castle next move. You play knight c6, protecting this.
Right.
And then if knight c3, you can hop back with a tempo on the bishop. Bishop moves. I'm just going with the computer's first choice at the moment. But this is obviously okay for Black. Yeah, you still need to be a bit careful because White's got very good development. But this isn't what happened anyway. He castles kingside.
Yeah.
Morphy plays a very slightly surprising move to me. He plays this, which is...
That's interesting.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. He's blocking this line off against his open king.
It seems a bit passive by Morphy standards, but actually, I suppose it's nice and solid position, isn't it?
Hmm.
It's not attacking anything, but it's very protective. And very protective.
Yeah, and I think maybe you understand because sometimes in these openings, you sort of as black you have to accept you've had an aggressive opening played against you. It will take a few moves to get to a level of
I also,
development
yeah,
parity.
I'm also right. I'm also expecting that because his bishop is blocked, Morphy pretty much knows he's going to take the knight next move, right? So he knows it's only there for a second. It's not likely. I mean, White could carry on developing. Maybe White could do knight to c3 now. Wouldn't be a bad thing, would it?
Knight to c3, wouldn't that just lose? Because knight takes c3 hits the queen.
Yeah, I suppose so.
And then
yeah,
the bishop's hanging.
you just take back with the people and the bishop's hanging.
So that loses the whole piece.
So okay, then what I'm
So
saying
actually,
is
in this case, yeah, in that
Morphy,
sense,
Morphy's probably taken a quick look and gone, it's pretty much certain the bishop's going to take the knight next go. So putting bishop on e6 is only temporary.
that's interesting.
Although he could put his rook, maybe rook to e1 would be good right now, actually.
Okay, so at that point now, I guess you want to put the other bishop in the way.
Yeah, it's not massively useful.
No, but it will be. It will be. I think if you're in one of these openings when it takes you a while to castle, put some things in the way of your king. It's not. Don't complain too much that it's not your ideal square.
Yeah, but then you've ended up with two pieces on non-ideal squares.
But not for very long.
I imagine that my bet is among is it Gradient or Gradient?
Gradient.
Among my greedy aunt.
Yes.
Is going to take the knight now. Well, rather than put the rook out.
I've got to admit, yes, he did do that.
But I think the rook is a nicer move, actually.
Like the computer's favourite move here is actually just to drop the bishop back here.
Oh,
which
really?
is interesting, yeah. But I think that I suspect that is the sort of thing that people just didn't really do then. It just wasn't on your radar. So for that reason, bishop e6 is quite a cunning move because this knight move is something White wants to do, and he can't.
Yeah, that's why I thought he's going to take the knight.
It's actually quite sneaky, right? Because
I can see.
Do you see the problem with d4? D4 is the most natural move to me.
Right.
But there's a tactical issue. This move, unlocking that.
Yeah.
And actually, black's better here. You can rescue this with a check, but c6, and then when you take this, he takes back. Yeah, you're going to take a lot of time trying to win this pawn back. I don't think black can hang on to it. But after this, just bishop out to a sensible square. Now White does have to spend time getting this pawn back. So queen d3. Castles, and this position is better for black because he's got the two bishops, and also there's a lot of weak squares around White's camp. So I think you're right. Montgredien took the bishop.
He does take the bishop.
Yeah,
bishop takes bishop,
which is what Morphy played. Again, I'm a little bit surprised, but okay. Bishop
would you have done queen takes bishop?
Yeah. Knight c3 happens, but your queen comes to... Okay, the computer likes this and just wants to come to here, which is actually quite an annoying square.
Right.
This is never happening because of bishop c5. Anyway. Yeah.
Okay, so bishop takes bishop.
Bishop takes bishop, he played.
I was right.
You were right.
Me and Morphy.
You and Morphy played the second best move. White plays d4.
Now, White's got to think.
Center.
Yep, okay.
Makes a lot of sense. So you're taking over the centre. You are threatening this pawn with your bishop.
Black's going to keep developing, I think.
Yep. What's he going to develop?
And the bishop, there's no point moving the bishop out, so knight c6.
Knight c6. Yeah, nicely guessed. Bishop takes.
Bishop takes.
Okay, and at this point you do have to get castled as black. Although for some reason the computer wants to take on f3, but I'm not. Oh, I see why. But
well, there's no good place for the the dark square bishop to go. So except I guess he does go to e7 to give the king space to castle.
Yeah.
So the king's protected with 3 castles. So I think e7. Does it have to be e7? Yeah, no point in it. He could exchange bishops, I guess, or try to go to d3, so d6. But
yeah,
it's a bit nothing. I'd say
there is. I mean, like, you can apparently get away with this, although I can't imagine Morphy playing it because you lose so much development. Queen to 4 check, king across. But because you castle queenside now. Yeah, it's not very up Morphy Street to do something like that. So he plays that. Knight develops to d2, not c3. Interesting. And I think the reason he doesn't go to c3 is he wants this pawn to be free.
Yeah.
So Morphy castles.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, that, because I've been messing around with. I use the London Opening quite a lot, which has the knight go on to d2. But I've also been learning the Jabava, where the knight goes to c3. And I really can't decide whether I like it, because blocking that pawn. And what I do now is I tend to hold the knight back and make that the last part of the development, and then see what black is doing to decide whether I want to bring the knight onto c3 or not.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, the reason the Jabava is such a sort of controversial, if you like, opening is because in queen pawn openings, the knight's just not supposed to go to c3 if you haven't played pawn to c4.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah,
that's like just ancient wisdom.
Yes. I've been playing it, but I'm playing a sort of delayed version of it. So okay, where are we up to? Last move was that black has just castled, and looking at what happens next. This white's got can you see the PGN when he's got the
Can you see the game score?
The PGN.
What?
Not seeing a score, no.
Okay, so you're just seeing the position. You're not seeing any moves.
No.
Okay, cool. C4.
I said C4. Yeah. What we were just talking about.
Yeah. So now, this is interesting. Then, what are the options for black? This is a little sort of tactical exercise, really.
Okay.
So let's say you have to move. You have to move the bishop. Let's say
I have to move my bishop. So, my bishop either retires, which is stupid. In fact, there's no option for me other than to take the knight, because taking the pawn is pointless. Going back onto e6 would be just asking for the pawn to come back and hit both the knight and the bishop.
Yeah, this is losing. This is losing a whole piece.
No point going to totally. We get forked. No point going to e4 either. So take the knight.
Yeah, it's the only move. Yeah, take the knight. Knight takes.
Knight takes back.
And we've just got a position, right, where I would think, right, just looking at this, unfortunately I can see the computer valuation at the moment, but this to me looks better for white, because white's got this pawn center. But it's a slightly odd one because there's no pawns here or here, you know. It's a little, maybe a bit loose, but it should be. You should have a bit of an advantage from this.
Yeah.
Basically, because it will give you more space in the center. Bishop f6 from Morphy. So immediately trying to put pressure on this center.
So he's got 3 pieces hitting the d4 pawn.
Yeah, he's threatening to take the d4 pawn,
which is quite nice.
So as white, what do you do?
Well, okay, I'm wondering whether d5 is good, but that doesn't make my b2 pawn takeable. Does that do anything? No, because then the rook can get behind it and threaten the b7 pawn, so no real advantage.
Yeah, so there'd be two pieces hanging, right? If the pawn goes d5, then the bishop takes here. For a moment, you're threatening the rook, but once the rook goes there, now this is attacked and this is attacked.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So it might be worth doing that then. So I think pawn to d5.
Pawn d5 was the move, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, White's definitely pushing here. White's the only one with any advantage.
Yeah. He's got the center pretty well controlled.
Yeah.
And the knight's okay. So the knight has to let's move this up a bit. The knight has to move.
Yeah.
He hasn't got the backing for me to start attacking. If he goes up to b4, he's going to be in trouble. He's going to be hit all over the place, and there's nothing to secure him. And a5 is no good for him. Sort of. He's attacking a pawn, but not really for very long because the b pawn comes up.
I just did a very cool thing on stream of just deep sip from an empty cup.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, just to look. Do you do it just to look cool?
No, I did it just to find out that it was empty. I didn't know. Didn't know it was empty.
Oh, I see. It's not your new thing.
It's not my new thing. It's just a prop.
He's the guy on Twitch who drinks out of an empty
it's like a plastic
cup.
cigarette. I've got a teacup.
I'll get some of those spectacles that don't really have glasses in, where you put your fingers through. You clean them, and then you put your fingers through, and everyone thinks that's hilarious. You're a proper fucking joker. Knight recedes somewhere, either to e2 or b1, which is always horrible when you come back behind your own line. So knight goes to e2.
E7, yeah.
Sorry, e7. And this is odd because right now we're seeing Morphy not really doing. The control of the game seems to be in Mongrediano.
Yeah, it's rare, very rare to see.
Black is the one who is going, okay, I'll take that piece back there. It's not really doing much. But he's not in a bad position. We're equal pieces, just that White's kind of dominating the center right now. And
White is significantly better, but not
file of the F file.
Yeah, not winning, I would say, but definitely he's got more space, he's got more play, he's got more chance of attacking on either side, really, and the center.
My guess next, I'm saying I would have thought, well, if it were me, I'd be tempted to move my rook away from a1, which I don't think he's very comfortable there with that with the bishop on the diagonal.
Yep, fair comment.
Or would I don't know what else I would do particularly. Oh, I see. I've got e5 is quite nicely covered with my knight and my bishop if I'm white. I'm saying as if I'm white right now.
Yeah.
So is it worth bringing the knight or here? Okay, I don't like my rook being there, but that does seem like a bit of a waste of a move. So I'd say my next move is one of these two squares, probably with the bishop.
Okay.
The bishop means he will take back. I then have my knight.
I know what I do. I would like to develop this rook as well. So I was considering bringing the queen out to b3 here. So that
sorry, you want to develop this rook?
I was going to develop the queen to b3 to target this.
Oh, that's nice. Okay.
And also defend this, but freeing this rook to come out. I thought that was interesting. That was a decent way to play.
That's a good idea.
Computer quite likes knight d4. What Montgredien did was he played bishop here.
Montgredien.
But it's not a disastrous move, but it's a bit like, what are you playing for? Because the more pieces come off the board, the more an advantage in space is neutralized.
Isn't there something to be said for clearing, seeing as he's got the control of the F file, the half open F file on his side? Isn't it good for him to be clearing space around the F file right now?
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
so he moves the black bishop out of it and his own bishop out of it, and now there's just the knight blocking that, and then he can. I mean, I'm just thinking, is that part of the?
So he wants to attack.
Worth considering.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it doesn't look that attackable to me, But Morphy played the comp wants to take the bishop here, which is obviously this is fine.
Once again, he's following at the moment, though.
Yeah.
Morphy, quite unusual. Okay, so he takes the bishop. Knight
No,
takes
he
back.
didn't take the bishop. He played knight f5.
Oh, he doesn't. Okay.
Yeah, he wasn't very
Well, that's cool because he's
obliging to his opponents.
Yeah, that's what surprised me just now. Because of course e3 is quite a lovely thing. He's threatening to put his knight there,
If you can land there, yeah.
which he won't. So now White has to stop that from happening.
Yeah.
If the bishop comes back to d4, that's no good now because Black has two pieces on it. Bang, bang, bang.
Oh, see what you mean.
Bang,
What, just
bang.
playing this?
No, that's no good.
No,
it doesn't do anything. Bishop and knight are on it, but he's got two pieces on it as well.
but then that.
Oh, I suppose so, yeah. Well, it's not too bad then, is it? I mean, sorry, it is bad. Really bad.
Yeah. Yeah, yes, sir.
So don't do it.
Move, yeah.
White play needs to defend e3. Possibly, I'm wondering whether queen to e1 is good or rook to e1.
Queen to e1 makes me a little worried about rook to e8, but maybe it's not an issue because if rook e8, can you just take? He takes back. You've got to move the queen again. Not here, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's
not great.
No, I don't. Yeah, it's. Yeah, seems to be giving up the initiative a bit. Well, what White played was he played queen d3.
Okay.
So just
makes sense.
Just covering
hit the hanging knight.
Yeah. And Morphy played pawn to g6.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah. So slightly weakening the dark squares around the king, but bolstering the knight. So it's going to be harder for White now to get an attack down the f file with this knight there.
So I'm reckoning the bishop either takes bishop or queen can go to c3.
Yeah.
Not from any major advantage because then bishop will take bishop immediately at that point.
Yeah, queen c3 is better though, isn't it? Because
I prefer it.
Do you know that saying to take is a mistake? Like a lot of the time when you've got tension going on, you want your opponent to be the one who takes because they're resolving the tension, and it's very, very often in your favour. Like, because when I take a piece and you take back, you end up with a piece in that square. When I take a piece and you take back, you end up with a piece in that square. I might have said the same thing twice.
Right.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the difference between this takes and knight takes, say, is there's a very, very nicely centralised knight. Whereas takes, there's a queen in a stronger position for Black.
Yeah.
It's not, it's not gigantic, this difference, but there is a difference.
Yep.
But White took.
Okay. Black obviously takes back.
That takes back, yeah.
Because one thing he is not is an idiot. And then
yeah, he knows how these move.
There's no particular thing here.
No, it just feel a bit nothingy for White now, doesn't it?
Well, I suppose he just protects his b2 pawn either by moving that forward now or by bringing his queen back, perhaps. Back to e2, d2 rather.
Yeah. I find it's quite interesting now because do you notice how
to confuse people?
Now that the dark square bishops have come off, there's less material on the board. White's still got quote unquote a space advantage, but now it doesn't matter because there aren't enough pieces for black to feel cramped anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to see this as a bit of a weak. Do you know what I mean? I'm just starting to see the dark squares in White's camp as potential outposts or attack points. Yeah, not that I think black is better or anything, but it's no longer. I don't think White's got an advantage. White played this.
Mm-hmm.
Which is very natural, right? It's attacking a pawn and covering an attacked pawn.
Now, is black best to lift the pawn up one square or put the rook on B8 rather?
It kind of depends. I quite like in this position. You can always do this stuff, but I think in this position, it's about to come down. There's only really one fully open file on the board, so it's gonna come down to the rooks coming to this file, right?
Yeah.
And so for that reason, I wouldn't put a rook in charge of that. I'd go B6.
You don't want to use a rook like that. Okay, my hesitation with going to B6 with the pawn was solely that I've now got nothing much I'm doing with the C pawn, with the C7 pawn, in that.
And you can't play C6 and challenge the pawn
attack with the queen helping, but yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, I lose my chance to challenge those centre pawns. So that was the only reason I was looking at the. That's why I was interested to know whether it would be move the rook now or move the pawn. But
that's a really good strategical point, and it probably comes down to it depends on different positions. Like right now, I don't think you can do this very easily.
No.
Well, okay, if he takes this, I take, play one of the rooks. Try this rook. I'm being a bit sacrificial here, but on purpose. I mean, there's a lot of activity for black, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
and also if you move if the F rook had gone over to B1 instead there, so I'm wondering where does the queen go? Yeah, I'm not sure whether that's...
Anyway.
Maybe it's not particularly stronger.
So that's interesting. Anyway,
let's go back to position.
Morphy ignored it totally and played rook F8.
Oh, of course. That's what I wasn't considering. It's Morphy. He'll just go have it.
Yeah. I would rather have the time and the development and the material. And
that's really what's interesting with these Morphy games. Actually, it seemed a bit slow for a while, but there is a point where that seems to be his decision process. It's let a thing go, time, momentum, speed is everything.
Yeah.
It's dominance. And particularly interesting that that's his attitude to play against the King's Gambit as well.
Yes. Yeah. It just has a different effect, right? And against the King's Gambit, it's sort of neutralizing it, whereas when you're on the attack, it's just flattening your opponent.
I also suppose if you had put the pawn up to B6, then you ruin the Queen's chance of having that as a threatening square at some point to get a tempo and check the king as well.
Yeah, that's also true. And it's just an attitude thing as well. Like, oh, you attack me, I defend. You attack me, I defend. That thing of just not thinking like that, not refusing to go into your opponent's lines, refusing to do the thing they want you to do. Like White could take this now.
Yeah.
But the activity that Black gets, I'm just going down what the computer thinks the best move is now. I mean, you can already start to see the idea, this come down here maybe. You don't play the King's Gambit to give your opponent an attack. So Montgredien challenges. He challenges the only open file on the board. And now this next move is really interesting. And again, so kind of in your face. Knight d4.
Yep.
attacking your queen, attacking your knight.
Not mine. They're not my queen and my knight.
They're not.
Disassociate.
Oh, I don't know whose pieces they use then. But
nothing to do with it, mate. That's really interesting. There's lots of little things going on there, isn't there? Knight can't take the knight without. Well, the queen obviously can take back straight away with check. Queen's not doing it. Suddenly, rook takes rook doesn't do anything.
Well, this turns into... this didn't happen often with Morphy, but I think if Morphy had had stronger opposition for longer, he would have got more of a reputation as a great endgame player. Because what happens here, without looking at all the variations, but let's say you decided you were going to take this one instead. I take back. It's still not great, right? You take here, I take back with check, you go there, and this is... I don't even, right, I'm not saying this is the best move, but I immediately go, well, you can go here.
Yeah.
Which is violence as all hell, right? And better for black, I think. He can defend with queen d1, but like he's totally on the defensive. What happened in the game was he took the knight.
Yeah.
So queen takes with check. King to the corner. So it's a bit bat rank alarm bells. And Morphy now takes here. And you think, normally you don't want to do that because you're giving your opponent the only open file. You play queen d2 here. And that's, I mean, there are alternatives the computer's going on about, but let's just ignore it pretty much. Montrénier could have played this and hung on to the file. And then there's a very interesting line the computer shows is very, very instructive. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, or could have pulled the queen back to d1.
To d1, yeah, you could, but then queen takes queen, rook takes queen, rook to e8, and black's got the only open file again. You can play this as black now. And that's entirely down your alley, right, of just wanting to attack this pawn phalanx in the centre. And now you take, and like queen takes, and it's totally equal. It's not, black's not winning or anything. But after this, Montrénier moved the rook and gave up the file. And now Morphy obviously takes it.
Takes the file.
This position is objectively about even. And this is the best move. And that's what Montrénier plays, right?
Yeah.
He's got this attack going on here. And you kind of have to move it or defend it. I don't think there's an option not to. So
yeah, I mean, I'd be tempted to go. Yeah, I was going to say to f5.
Yeah,
and just block that off straight away.
Yeah, so that's what he does. And then the game only lasts one more move.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, there's no immediate attack, so
is that right? I hope I'm not. I hope I'm not. Oop. Sorry.
Oh, queen goes to d1. Really? So it goes into defense mode now.
Yeah.
So black does do that. Queen goes to d1. And my temptation, no, because if the rook, I'm looking at rook going to e2, but then queen takes queen, rook takes queen. That means the rook gets to take more pieces, take one of the A or B pawns, but I don't see how the game ends this quickly unless Morphy does something particularly dynamic.
Well, he makes the move you're talking about. He does this.
Is that enough?
Yeah.
The queen takes queen now, surely.
Yeah. Okay. So the game's over.
Rook takes queen.
Queen takes queen, and
So
now
the game's over. So it's a white. Hold on, white resigned at that point.
white resigned here because
Okay, let's play it through and see why.
Okay, so
Play it through.
let's
Queen takes queen. Rook takes queen.
yeah. And now the difference is in the two rooks. And how much time? So this king is going to get active really fast. So you want your king to come up, support your pawns, be in the center, etc. So okay, he does this.
I would have moved my rook to A1 now. No, to
B1.
No, I'm wondering
A1?
what I would have done actually. Well, maybe B1. Yeah.
B1. Still totally passive.
So that I know it's passive, but surely at this point where it's all pawns and I've got 4 pawns against 3, I'd try and protect them and see if I can get some pawn game going here because I've got 3 pawns. Well, I'd be tempted to.
So if I play this, I'm attacking this. How do you defend it?
I suppose so, right. So my pawn goes to B3. He takes A2.
So there you go, pawn down.
Still, do I have enough to?
No, you can do this. I can bring the king in, and you still need a move to take your king out of the mating box, right? Because you can't move your rook off the rank because you get checkmated.
Right.
So you have to play king G1, and now I can start trying to get my pawns going. The computer's giving this about +3 for black.
Really?
Yeah.
You mean -3?
Yeah, it's -3, +3 for black. Yeah.
Okay. I still wouldn't have thought that's enough for white to resign. I would definitely play this through.
Yeah, I think you would be right to try and play this through. It's going to require a bit of technique.
That's what I mean. When I'm playing games, I will play through end games like this because I think you learn a lot from playing against pawns and one piece against one piece.
And I think you should play end games like this. I think you very, very often have a chance of saving them or even winning them against weaker opposition.
Yeah.
But these are two master level players. And
yeah, it's interesting.
I think it's too much. I think the resignation is a bit of a shame because it would have been lovely to have a game where we see Morphy just show why this is such a horrible position for white, and it is. The difference in the rooks is immense. Like one rook each, and the rook's on the 7th, and the other rook can't get to the 7th. If I just start flicking through, if I just start hitting the spacebar, computer best moves. There's this trick which wins a pawn. Okay, so H4, he's going to do this. A5. 5. I don't know why he wants to play rook C2. 3. That makes some sense. King G7. Trying to get the king to the centre. Fasten the pawn chain. Rook E6. A4. This is quite typical, breaking up the pawn chain. So takes. Now these 2 pawns are isolated and weak. So you see, for example, if you played this move rook C6, you can just take, and this is winning for black. Not just because of these pawns, but because of how close this king is to this pawn. And this pawn's a sitting duck as well. Yeah?
Yeah. I doubt white would have calculated
White wouldn't do that.
When he,
White would play the king in, but he's losing this pawn. Now he plays this. And we just have to hold things now. There's an extra pawn. Do you take this? Take. Oh, check. Sorry, king of 3. Oh, rook E7. Clever. Start pushing that pawn. Takes. If you can get rid of enough pawns, the white king's quite active now. Takes. Attack this again. You can have it now, mate. Takes here, and this is winning. This This is like some Kasparov short end game. Push. Do you want us to trade rooks? No. Okay. Attack. Why not push? Back. And like winning this is just a matter of technique, although I am not saying I have that technique. But it should be. This should be a total win, right? The rook can't really move, so what you do with the king is you just run it round here, I guess. Let's see what the computer does. Gives the check. Oh, I see. What? He's repeating position. That's giving up. This is the problem with computers; they play weirdly. Like, let's do this. I'm just going to play my plan and see if there's anything wrong with it. So I'm giving. This is me versus the computer. Okay.
Sorry, you got the computer playing what?
The computer's playing white and I'm playing black.
Playing white. Okay.
Okay, and we win.
And then you win.
Yeah. So that plan works.
Possibly. It's hard to know it would have gone that way. I got to head out, but
yeah, no worries.
Yeah, interesting. Do enjoy watching Paul Morphy games and Zulu going. Nice and chaps got to shoot. Yeah, me too, Zulu. Thank you for joining us. And,
cheers, Zulu. Thanks for hanging around.
And thanks for joining us, Sicilian, if you're still around. And say hi to Kai if you speak to him, and tell him to join us and play some games against us. We're going to do I think later in the week, maybe on a Thursday, we'll have play against comedians or something once a week.
Yeah. Cool.
Cheers. Thank you very much. Right. And we will be back with some more study once a week and fun play against comedians once a week.
Cheers, everybody.
Different days. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.